knowledge, and as you continue, you will have all and learn what has been taken away as your right to grow and to know how things work. And then you begin to flourish, and all our tribes will begin to flourish, as opposed to a caste system, which only hurts because they'll have the same person, unless it's the same, like if a father and a son and a grandson were all great kings, that's fine, especially if they all knew the human instruction, because at least if you got a tyrant on top and you got the human instruction, you're going to be like, hey, I'm going to handle this, I'm going to take care of this, no problem. You know, that even the king will be like, damn, you know what, can I join your camp? Because you're following the flow. You know what time it is. You know the way things work. So they like to dumb people down. You know, you're not allowed to read or write. You're not allowed to go here. You're not allowed to go there. And basically trying to be your master, as opposed to just telling you, or instructing you and say, okay, well this is all yours, and sharing, and not having the 1% have everything, unless they're worthy of the 1% who has the intelligence and the understanding to give money to the people so they can prosper. Because eventually, if you keep that 1% holding all the money, people are going to start to become enraged, and that's when you have people taking over the governments and war because of this issue. So if one country does really good because they mastered the human instruction and they mastered it so well they're doing great, they may want to help teach other countries, but not so they can own it, but so they can own themselves, and then you're just there to teach and leave. That's it. Hey man, this is how this works, this works, orchestrated real nice, and you got to ask them, and then when we leave, we'll work together with one another, and we'll give you IDs that you can come and visit, because there's no longer separation of culture, because we all know the human instruction. We all know the one rule, the one honest rule that's not hypocritical, but it's fair to all. So you can continue on this trajectory of going upwards and onwards. And these tribes, so they can work under unison, under one umbrella, and they can project either positives or negatives of understanding the way things work and how we can help one another. But the negatives like to rule and covet, using people who are selfish and greedy, and they betray their own people. And so they want profit for their actions to hurt, as opposed to working for an honest day's wage that helps all of us to enlighten ourselves, and using the correct tools. So anything is a tool that we can use. Anything, you name it. The Bible's a tool. The hammer's a tool. Your pants are a tool that can be used for good or bad. But the negatives wants to use the good or the bad, not based on what is good or bad, but based on their own deceptive motives. And that includes animals. Again, animals can be used for good or bad. Money can be used for good or bad. We can be used for good or bad. Procedures can be used for good or bad. The media can be used for good or bad. Politics can be used for good or bad. You name it, but it's basically all these tools that we're given so we can work towards a direction. It goes all the way back, going to Pompeii or or the beginning of Israel, the beginning of Egypt or Nubia or Jericho or wherever, anywhere around the world, through all these lessons that the Bible teaches, that it instructs the person on what a correct behavior is. But then you get all these people with these different religions saying, hey, our religion started here, our religion. So they're trying to create this self-pride, not realizing, well, any holy language or understanding comes from God. And therefore, you taking it to benefit yourself is not only erroneous but blasphemous, because God, even in the Jewish understanding, you see sometimes they'll be like, well, this is for the Jews, but in the end, the overall objective is for all of us. Whether some people would like to believe it or not, but it is the epitome of understanding. But the question is that who is worthy to open the seal to understand the entirety? And again, as you continue, you will be awakened as to exactly what that is, and how some people try to create religions that are hypocritical and absolute ludicrous understanding, where it's so bad where they tell you, well, you can't even have understanding, you just got to follow with blind faith. And that's like you're a pet, you blind faith. It's like, basically they're saying you're going to do this or believe this because I tell you. No, you're supposed to be, I'm going to enlighten you with this, and it's your choice whether you want to accept it or not. But if you don't accept it, this is the outcome of it. And if you do accept it, this is the outcome of that. Now, some people will give you negative beliefs, but if you don't follow the negative beliefs, they'll hit you with more negatives. And that just shows you exactly where they're going down to the core in their energy, which is, again, is their outcome. So when even some tribes begin to increase their knowledge, they may be taken down or the libraries burnt down, and some people are still living in the dark ages, because basically they're born into a whole society with no education, so they just do as little as they can because they understand little, and they have a lot of problems, serious problems. Having sex with these girls that their bodies are not ready, and then they end up with problems that I'm not even going to discuss all the problems, but there's a lot of physical problems that when you do things that you're not quite ready, especially if you don't have any good doctors and medical facilities and medicine that can help regulate or correct these problems that are occurred through religious misunderstanding. It's the only, or hypocrisy, because they start doing things as a part of religious rituals that can be quite detrimental to one person or another person or all over the world if they try to take these religions all over the world. But many people aren't going to accept it because it's illogical, unreasonable, hypocritical, deceptive, only harbors more negative energy. So there's only one race, but with all these many tribes through all over the world, France, Germany, Asia, whatever tribe. And it's just a couple of people that came there, and maybe a couple other people that came there, and they began to spend time with each other over time, and then you come up with this end people, which they call a race, but it's a tribe. We're all tribes. Forget about race. We're the human race. So some people begin to mix with one another and creating the specific color, the hair color, eye color. But it doesn't mean it'll stay like that, but it can change, and who knows what's going to happen, because we're basically going to go where no human has ever gone before. We're going to do what nobody has ever, no tribe, at least that I know of. Although it may have been long ago with certain tribes that was stolen from you. I'm sure it was. There's no maybe about it, but they destroyed it. And also some who's taken a left, and you can't have a whole tribe doing nasty and crazy things because that causes more problems in the environment. And some people will be like, well, how is our energy related to the environment? But it is. It's our energy, our belief system, and everything directly affects our energy because this world has a specific amount of balance of flowers, of trees, and also like our pool and everything that we have either coming in or coming out is used in such a way to help our planet. But if we begin to do things in such a way that we're not helping our planet, then it causes our planet to buck. And when our planet bucks, we pay for it by the bushel load. So the people that are in charge, if they're not running things the correct way, they're blaming God for all the problems, but they're the problem. But the minute you stop the problem, you see our environment will start to clear up, the air will start to clear up, people will start being kinder to one another, and then you'll start to see things differently, feel things differently. So imagine the worst fear you ever felt. Now switch that around to imagine feeling the greatest love that you have ever felt. The most power. I mean, personal power. You stand there and bask in power. It's like a thousand euphorias. It's like having sex 1,000 times in one time without one drop of sexual potency spilled, because, or who knows, because your body is just reeking all this beautiful energy. But most likely it's just coming in because the secret gift or the spirit, and that's why it's important that you receive it, and you shall receive it as long as you follow the understanding. Again, everything is self-explanatory, but it's got to be spoon-fed. I can't download everything to you in 1 second, but it's a process. So as we continue on through time, inshallah, or God willing, that you be able to progress until you say, okay, I see it, I understand it, completely, and then you'll know exactly what to do. So people have been teaching this sometimes to children just to hate. Wow, I can't believe that, and kill. And that in turn, and they're religious people. They say, oh, well, we're religious in the name of God, they say, but they're teaching their children to be prejudiced. They're teaching their children to disrespect their wife or their husband. They're teaching their children not how to communicate. They're teaching their children not the way things work, just to keep you more ignorant. And that's if you're lucky, if they even graduate the 2nd grade, especially in some of these other cultures where they don't even allow books in there. Some of them allow computers with no books. No, Lord have mercy. So anyway, so we could either help our energy or destroy ourselves through this energy, because basically everything's all energy in this planet. And then we again, through our direction, could either praise God or blame God for our own ignorance. So there'll be a separation through who is the yes man or the yes woman, and they'll promote a yes woman who isn't mentally, physically, or spiritually prepared to lead anybody or make any decisions, but yet they were put there because they're yes people, and most likely they have no gift for the position they're in, therefore making people angry, letting people live in a state of anger, divide and conquer, and just keep continuous regurgitation of ignorance and fallacy until one point it's all got to come to a head. Because if they were killing themselves, that's one thing, but they're trying to kill everybody, and including the planet. So including ourselves and the planet, and so everything's leaning bad, and you can either continue or wallow in the mud, or you can just get up and clean yourself or dust yourself off and say, okay, Is there anybody else that wants to clean themselves? Inevitably, people are tired of living in the muck. So, again, creating these tribes, and to this day, we're creating new tribes and new peoples. And inevitably, once the human instruction goes all around the world, again, you're not telling them that they got to change their religion. You're not going to tell them anything. All you're doing is going in there. You're going to teach them the human instruction. You're going to give them literature and books or whatever, or one solid book to maybe just have the blueprint of the human instruction, because I can make it smaller. But again, in the end, I'm gonna show you a dot and how to make it from that dot to show you and explain. You can be able to explain everything quickly and efficiently, but I need to do it this way because this is the base. I need to set up a good foundation. So from that foundation, you can fly. You can be like, you can just have a watch on and with 12 handles. Basically, the human instruction is the knowledge in the bucket. The watch is the short form with 12, or the number of leaves, or the number of numbers that you actually have, or the number of dots that you have on the watch. So you can look at a 12 on a watch and say, all right, these are the 12 lessons. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. You don't even got to memorize this stuff. You can just write it down. These are the 12 lessons right here. But again, the 12 lessons blooms into larger and larger components. So, you just have the smaller form of the greater knowledge. So if you're traveling, you can just look at your watch. But if you want the whole entire knowledge, you can have the book that tells you. Or I know in some of the ancient literature, you'll see a person with a bucket and a person with a watch. I'm not going to go too deep into that. Maybe we'll go into that a little later. But I'm just saying, there's always the smallest way and the largest way to retain all. I'm talking about, there's a lot of knowledge. But again, you go on, and as you continue, and by the time you finish, everything will be easy. You don't got to memorize anything. All you need to do is what I call conditioning. It's like watching a TV show every once in a while, and you learn everything. So, these people, in order to enslave your mind, they create these false beliefs, and that's where the slavery comes in. It's a choice. You can't enslave a person that's awakened, not truly awakened, but you can always enslave an ignorant person because they don't know any better. But we need to teach the children how to become free and happy individuals through this conditioning, and then when they get older, if somebody tries to flim-flam them, they'll just laugh at them and says, really? Are you serious with that? If it becomes a joke, it's great, because once when your mind broadens, then you actually connect with the higher power, and you got to disconnect through all those wires and media that's just conditioning garbage over time, and that's how we had come to this point for so many thousands of years. And then not only that, but then using certain words to identify ourselves that are actually erroneous, especially words like black or white. When nobody's black nor white, or using the N-word, and then trying to claim that's I'm sure the end probably started somewhere like Niger, or finding out a word from Niger. If you say the N-word in Nigeria, or Niger, or depending on how the different ways of saying it, like tomato, they don't care because they have no history with that. But if you start using the word, the nipper, again, not using the G, or, not trying to be slang, because that's ignorant. Why not call yourself beautiful, or any other word that you can imagine? And you're going to use a word like nipper? or like on the street with an A, nigga. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to use none of that stuff because there's a history in that here. If there wasn't a history, perhaps you can use it as something positive. But because of the history and it's so long and it's so fresh and people are still using that in our minds, I just toss the whole word out. It's just like, because then you're calling yourself that. It's like a guy coming from China or another country, and all he sees is movies that you calling yourself a black nipper, and he's like, yo, how's my black nipper? Are you my black nipper? He's like, are you a black nipper? And he was like, hell no, I'm not no black nipper. Some people might say, yeah, I'm a black nipper, and using it